Welcome back to the John Fredericks Radio Network. Time now is 7:38, and we're on with Emily Aronhalt, who is with the West Virginia's Boys and Girls Club, and she is the Person of the Year. If you hang on a minute, Emily, I want to play a clip from Denzel Washington.
You know, I love the club. It's the reason I'm here. It's taught me so many lessons, and I can talk about it in a positive way and an honest way for the rest of my life. You know, in a community or in a town, your role models are the people that you deal with, that are in your face, that you talk to, that you can ask questions to, not necessarily some basketball player or actor on screen. So I had great role models, Billy Thomas and all the gentlemen that worked with us, going all the way back to when I first joined in 1959. Yeah, in our club, I think Billy Thomas started it in our club. He would go put up all the pennants. When anybody went away to college, they brought back their pennant and they would put it up on the wall, and it was actually the hallway going into the gym. So after a while, they're getting more and more and more, and it allowed you to imagine, you know, places that you'd never been to or thought about. Like, we had a guy who actually played in the NBA, Gus Williams, won a championship with the Seattle Supersonics back in the 70s, and he went to USC. And I would look at that pennant and I was like, wow, California, I wonder what they do out there. You know, Notre Dame and this one and that one. It was a way to make you dream bigger than your 4 square blocks. Boys and Girls Clubs, great futures start here.
That was Denzel Washington, and he was a Boys and Girls Club member. And we have Emily Aronhalt, West Virginia Youth of the Year for the Boys and Girls Club of America. Emily, welcome to the John Fredericks Radio Network. You're on with Colonel Mike.
Thank you. Good morning. How are you?
Oh, I'm great, and I'm so happy to have you on. Time now 7:40, and I would like you to tell the listeners what you're doing in West Virginia, what your plans are. I heard a little bit about it, but I'd like you to describe it. I think it's so great. It's nice to have positive people thinking about positive things for the youth. And, you know, you probably got a very bright future. So tell us what you're doing.
Thank you very much. I just won West Virginia State Youth of the Year for the Boys and Girls Club of America. And my vision for America's youth, and really anyone today, is to spread their abilities, skills, and freedom to communicate with one another. And I feel that's very important because communication skills are so viable in today's world because they're so filled with technology and social media and so many different types of obstacles going on that we don't really know how to communicate with each other effectively.
Correct.
And there's no way we can have a bright future for our future generations if we can't figure that out.
I agree.
Communication is a key point.
I agree. And how do you plan on doing this? How do you plan on getting this out there to the people?
Well, I'm starting small in my local Boys and Girls Club. I am starting a group. It's called Meet Up and Buddy Up, and it teaches the young kids how to communicate with others and how to go outside of their friend groups. So the Meet Up part is when we all get together in a big group and we do a short, small lesson. Like on Tuesday, I started with some older kids, 3rd through 5th grade, and I taught them how to be able to speak in front of one another if they were doing a class project and they had to present in front of the class. And then afterwards, I had them split up with other people rather than just their normal friends, so they would have to gain new friends. They would have to go out and get out of their comfort zone and talk to other people that they normally wouldn't talk to. So not only does it get them out of their comfort zone when talking to people, but it also allows them to elaborate on their communication skills because they aren't talking to who they normally would. So they have to really focus on how they speak to somebody.
That is great. And Emily, tell us how old you are.
I am 18 years old.
This is amazing. Good stuff. You're doing great stuff. Continue, honey.
Thank you.
So what else? What else do you plan on teaching them? Writing skills, social skills, dealing with each other, get off the phone type of thing, the texting, and stuff like that.
Yes, I really am. During my class, it's one day a week. It's on Tuesdays, every day after school, and I do not allow technology in my class at all.
Oh, fantastic.
I feel that they need to break that habit of sitting in front of each other and texting each other when they're 3 feet apart. I don't believe that that's a good influence on our future generations, because it's just going to continue to build that barrier between them. So there's no technology in my class, but I'm also allowing them to elaborate on how they write out different letters if they're writing a letter to somebody, or sometimes I might focus on how to write an email later, but they're still pretty young kids, so I'm not sure if they'll even understand what an email is.
Have you been, Emily, have you been to homes where you see families sitting at a table or sitting at a coffee table in front of the TV and texting and using an iPad and not having any communication whatsoever?
Yes, and it drives me crazy.
I walk out of those homes. I say, thank you. It was a pleasure to see you again, and I'm gone. Done deal.
I can understand why. It really makes me mad, especially if I'm in public and I see little kids on their phone and their grandparents or their parents are sitting in front of them, because not only are you not creating a relationship with that person, but you also don't know when that person's going to go away.
Mm-hmm.
And if you spend all your time with them on your phone, then you're damaging yourself in the long run.
Well, I think what you're doing
is something that hits home.
What you're doing is sorely needed. Are you training other people to do this?
Yes, I am. Not only am I in the Boys and Girls Club in the Morgan County unit teaching communication, but through the Boy Scouts of America, I am a venturer, and I am actually teaching a national youth leadership training, too, which really elaborates on leadership skills and communication skills for an entire week.
Mm. And, for the listeners that don't know where Morgan County is in West Virginia, tell them what's the famous place in Morgan County in Berkeley Springs. What is it?
The famous place is, to me, the most famous place would be George Washington's bathtub in the Berkeley Springs State Park.
That's right. And it has some of the best water, right?
Yes, it does. They say people come from all around the world to taste our water. It's healing water.
And they bottle it, and you can buy it in big clubs like Sam's Club and other places, and it's delicious, and it's not costly. And it's not distilled in whatever else they do, these companies do with water. This is straight out of the springs, and you drink. It's clear. It's delicious, right? And
yep, and it's 72 degrees all year long.
That's right. 72 degrees. You're right. And when is what is the other big festival they have out there in Berkeley Springs?
The Apple Butter Festival.
That's right, apple butter, and it's the big copper. What do they call that? Whatever they cook it in, a copper kettle? Is it a copper kettle?
Yeah.
That's the word. Yeah, it's a copper kettle, and that's if you're anywhere near. It's probably, I guess, from Northern Virginia, about a 2-hour ride, 2.5-hour ride, or something like that. Washington D.C. It's a fun festival. I've been there once before. It's very nice. And
it is really fun.
And how do you go every year? Do you go to the Apple Festival every year? The Apple.
Yes, I actually volunteer with the Boys and Girls Club every year during the Apple Butter Festival. We tend to have a tent up where we give kids face paintings and they can do little activities. Like last year, we had them create sand bottles and we sold some food. So yeah, you can find me there every year.
So you're doing some fundraising for the Boys and Girls Club while you're there, right?
Yes.
Okay, and who are the major sponsors? Do you guys have some sponsors out there in Morgan County that are helping you out with the Boys and Girls Clubs?
We have a few sponsors in the Eastern Panhandle altogether.
Mm-hmm.
A few of them are like United Bank, and the major one is United Bank. I'm not sure who a lot of the other small businesses are.
And United Bank, I think, is one of our top, I guess, within the top 10 banks of the country now. They started back in the 1800s. There's very few. There's another bank, I think, in West Virginia. It's an 1800 bank. And there's one in Northern Virginia called Burke and Herbert. I think they started in 1848. It's amazing they're around that long, you know. And these are actually community banks that just got regional. You know, they went into from West Virginia to Pennsylvania to Ohio, and they're doing stuff in Maryland. So they have like a 5-state regional kind of existence. United Bank is a very community-minded bank, I think, like Burke and Herbert is in Northern Virginia. But it's good that you have a sponsor like that. And we need more sponsors. So anybody out there that wants to help the Boys and Girls Club, whether you're a car dealer like Barry Moore up there in Pennsylvania now, or anybody else out there listening, you know, you support your Boys and Girls Club. It's doing good things. And you got people like Emily, who's only 18 years old, and she's thinking about her generation in the future. Anything else you'd like to say, Emily?
I don't think so.
Well, thank you for coming on. I appreciate the time, and I thank you for coming on and sharing with us what you're doing out there. And I hope this spreads from, you know, that county to another county in West Virginia to over the border in Pennsylvania and Virginia and Maryland. And
Thank
Emily,
you very much for allowing me to share my story.
and thank you, and you have a happy holiday.
You too.